Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast.
The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Road with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. I appreciate you tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like, you dislike, or even if you just want to outsmart me on something I said, go ahead, shoot me a call, 219-413-9405. And of course, we will play your take back on our next episode. And shout out to SeatGeek also for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code The Run Podcast. This code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website. And I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go ahead and create me an account so I can go to one of these games, all the baseball season and NFL season right around the corner. So I gotta go ahead and go to one of these games. So I'm gonna use SeatGeek for that. Anyway, look, man, basketball is still going on. The NBA Finals are here. The Dallas Mavericks, they advanced to the finals for the third time in franchise history after defeating the Minnesota Timberwolves in 5 games. And this game 5 here was lopsided, man. It was, oh, man, I enjoyed the series in total, but this was a wild game 5. Timberwolves pretty much just laid down and let the Timberwolves do what they had to do, because man, it wasn't even entertaining. I'll put it this way: Luka, Doncic, and Kyrie Irving, they had more points than the Timberwolves as a team at halftime. Luka, Doncic, and Kyrie Irving combined for 44 at half, and the Timberwolves team had 40 points at half. So that tells you, how bad the game was in terms of what the Timberwolves was doing on the floor. And, game 5, there's plenty of reasons they lost this. Luka caught fire. First quarter came out, just lighting them up from 3 and just lighting them up on the scoreboard. And Wolves, it just seemed like they was happy to not get swept. Because game 4, they played good. They finally got a game. Everybody thought they were going to get swept. We thought it was going to be over, and they ended up winning. So I just feel like I can't help but to think that the Wolves had a lot of momentum going into game 4 about, we can't get swept. And then since they got that game, kind of took the gas off the pedal and was like, all right, well, we just got another game come game 5, and that's what it looked like. It looked like they lost some steam coming into game 5, and some things I thought should have changed. And what was the ultimate deciding factors in this series was, I think the Timberwolves got out-coached by Jason Kidd because the Dallas Mavericks was on it. They made some great adjustments in the game. And then I also think that the key difference was that the stars didn't show up for the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. How can you expect them to win a series when Anthony Edwards was playing the way he was and Karl Anthony Towns was playing the way he was? The stars wasn't there. They didn't really help everybody else. You had Anderson Walker play good. The role guys for the Timberwolves played good. Naz Reid played good. Jaden McDaniels played good. He held his own. But everybody who's the big name on the Minnesota Timberwolves wet the bed each game in this series. They failed to close out games. They failed to show up big in clutch moments of the game. And they failed to show up during the important stretches of the game. And that was one of the key differences here. I still don't know why. Chris Finch had Rudy Gobert on the island in crunch time. That should have been adjusted right after game 1. Soon as he got torched in game 1 in a pick and roll, they should have been in the locker room making hell of adjustments, talking about, look, Gobert, you don't go on that island no matter what you do. Whatever we do, we make an adjustment to make sure you don't go on that island. That should have been a no-no from the jump, but they didn't. They never fixed that. They still got killed in the pick and roll by Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic every single time. They still dragged Rudy Gobert out on the island and let him get killed game after game after game. That was a huge thing that could have turned this series around, but it didn't happen. And the Wolves, they got the number 1 defense, but they still didn't have an answer for Kyrie and Luka Doncic. Those guys were on a tear all series. It's not much you can do when you got Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving killing you like the way they were. But, you got to make some adjustments. And I didn't really see that from Chris Finch and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I think that was a huge part of why they ended up losing this series here. But you got to give kudos to the Dallas Mavericks, man, because they showed up and showed out. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic did their thing in this game 5 here, this past game. Man, they put up 36 points each. I think Luka Doncic might have been close on a triple-double, but the man had over 20 in the first quarter, which was just insane. It was just a wild, wild thing to see, man. And Wolves, they gave up. But look, man, it's a new matchup. I'm excited about this next matchup that's coming up between the Dallas Mavericks and the Boston Celtics. I got to go ahead and give you some insight on that because this is a matchup I'm very much anticipating. And I got my winner. I got my selection already of who I think is going to win this series. So why not go ahead and jump into it, man? Because Dallas Mavericks is winning this series in 6 games without a doubt. I have the utmost confidence that the Dallas Mavericks will win this series here. 6 or 7 games. 6 is me being like, I got a lot of faith, but anything can happen. So it may go to 7. Like, I'm just kind of leaning 6 or 7 games, but I think the Dallas Mavericks is the better team for sure, man. Obviously the Celtics are very well put together. They have a complete team. And they were the number 1 defensive team in the Eastern Conference all year long. They did their thing. They've been killing it all year long. So you got to give credit where it's due to them. But my thing is, in this journey that we've seen from the Boston Celtics, we've seen them struggle last series guarding rookies and guarding 2-year players who aren't even elite scorers in this league. TJ McConnell and Nimbar. We've seen them struggling trying to guard those guys on the Pacers. What the hell are the Celtics going to do when they got to guard Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic? I just don't think they'll have an answer for those two. And yeah, I know they got some great defenders. They got Jrue Holiday and Derek White who've been playing out of this world. But even then, they're not going to be enough to guard Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving because those guys can score on anybody. And here's where I give the Celtics some sort of advantage over the Timberwolves, but also I see a lot of similarities in this. So you see Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, both lanky defenders. Obviously, you got Jrue Holiday, who's going to be a ball hawk at all times. He's going to be a pest on defense at all times. Same for Derek White. You look at the skill set those guys have on defense and the structure this team has on defense. You can't sit here and tell me the Timberwolves don't have a similar build around their defensive presence. Their guard, Mike Conley, not as good as a defender as Jrue Holiday, but Anthony Edwards, Alexander Walker, and Jaden McDaniels all are lanky defenders, and they all play great defense, and they still didn't have a single answer for Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. So, those two are going to be the big focus, but what you can't forget is that those guys have a lot of help coming on the support end for the Dallas Mavericks, bro. It's not just Luka and Kyrie that you got to worry about here. Obviously, you still got to worry about PJ Washington and the other shooter who don't miss in the corner. And Gafford been playing good. Lively been playing good. Like, Dallas low-key got a good size advantage down low, especially if Porzingis is not there. So it's going to depend, but I'm going to take my pick with the Dallas Mavericks to win this series here in 6 or 7 games. And I'm going to stand on that, man. Dallas Mavericks, they're just very, very talented on the offensive end, and obviously we know what the Celtics can do, but there's been a lot of inconsistencies that I've seen with the Celtics so far up until this point. They played some teams without their stars. They played some average type of teams on this journey, and the only thing I've seen is them hang around and play to the level of their competition. There was multiple times where the Indiana Pacers could have won the game in that previous series that they got swept in. There was multiple games that went down to the wire. Honestly, 3 of the 4 games that happened in that series were down to the wire, and the Pacers just happened to blow the game. But they could have easily won 3 of those games that they lost to the Boston Celtics. So that concerns me. I'm looking at the Celtics, that concerns me. Porzingis coming back from injury, that concerns me because now we got to decide if we're going to give him immediate minutes, even though he's not necessarily going to be in the shape that he was before he got hurt. That concerns me. Al Horford playing big minutes against Gafford and Lively, that concerns me. there's some things here on the Celtics that's kind of a red flag. As they say, red flag, pink flag, yellow flag, all these different flag colors. Look, Celtics got a lot of them, man. In each of these series that they play on this journey, they've played to the level of their competition, and they haven't necessarily looked like the sharpest team in the NBA or the sharpest team even in the Eastern Conference. So I'm going to just leave it there. It's some concerns out there. Maybe they'll fix it. Maybe they'll come out looking a little bit different. And we know how the Celtics get active when JT and Jaylen Brown is both rolling, but maybe they'll look a little bit different. And hey, who knows? Who knows? We'll see, though. It'll be interesting to watch, man. Anyway, look, shoot me a call. Let's hear your take on this. Let's hear who you got winning this series between the Celtics and the Mavericks. Personally, I also don't want the Celtics to win, but I accept great basketball. So if they're playing great basketball, I can watch this. I can watch them hold up a trophy if they earned it, if they play and it looks like they've been winning games more than the other team has been losing games. I can withstand that. That's cool with me. Anyway, shoot us a call, 219-413-9405. Leave us a quick take, man. I want to hear your thoughts on the previous series with the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks. And then also, let's hear what you're thinking about the Celtics in the Dallas Mavericks finals that's about to happen. Are you going to watch it? Are you entertained by it? You know, do you think it's going to be a good finals? Is it a good matchup on paper? Will it be a good matchup on the floor? So I would love to hear that. Anyway, we got some news coming up for the run, man. A lot of news. Some new things happening and all across the board. So we'll touch on that in just a second. It's halftime. We'll be right back. All right, let's get into it, man. News for the run. HBO's Hard Knocks series is coming to Chicago. Let's do this. The NFL and NFL Films have selected the Chicago Bears to serve as this year's team on Hard Knocks. And the first episode of Hard Knocks with the Bears is scheduled to air on Tuesday, August 6th. Definitely excited for that. And the Miami Dolphins and Jalen Waddle, they agreed to a contract extension. This deal is worth $84 million for 3 years with $75 million guaranteed. And in the WNBA, there's some news. The city of Detroit is trying to bring back a spark. In multiple reports, it's been rumored that the city of Detroit, has been in talks with the WNBA to bring back the former WNBA team, Detroit Shock. Now, Detroit Shock is the only WNBA team to win a championship 1 year after having the worst record in the league. Personally, growing up in Detroit, I would love to see Detroit Shock back in action, man. It was a fun time, you know, with them being active in the WNBA. I hate that they weren't around, you know, as the league continued on, but I would love to see them back in the WNBA. That would be awesome. All right, the NBA, we got some news there. Ty Lue and the Los Angeles Clippers, they've reached an agreement on a 5-year contract worth nearly $70 million. The Hall of Famer, Bill Walton, has passed away at age 71 after a prolonged battle with cancer. Rest in peace to a legend, Bill Walton. Bronny James, he's still in the NBA draft. He'll only work out for 2 to 3 teams despite having over 10 invites from 10 or more teams. And this is per Shams. And the Lakers and the Suns, they're reportedly the only teams that Bronny plans to work out for. And to me, man, I look at this like this is some sort of master plan. I can't help but to think about this because obviously we know LeBron probably doesn't want to leave LA considering that's where his family is. Got a nice house out there. He just got there a couple years ago. I doubt he wants to go play in a random city like Portland or, you know, the Spurs. I doubt he wants to go play in a random city. So this makes perfect sense that Bronny is kind of selecting the team that he wants to get drafted to, which is the Phoenix Suns, which is still in proximity, kind of close to LA. And then also, obviously, the Lakers to play with his dad. So that makes sense, man. And I'm excited for it. I think it's dope. I already, mentioned my thoughts on Bronny James in the league. So you're going to have to go back to that last episode and listen to that. I think it was episode 144. And in the MLB, man, we got some stuff here in the MLB. All you need to know right now is that statistics will look a lot different So earlier this week, the Negro League statistics were integrated into the MLB database. So this means Josh Gibson from the Negro League will now be the MLB record holder for over 6 major categories. So crazy. All the statistics is about to look different. And then I just want to give a quick recap of the NBA playoffs run. So obviously, as we know, the NBA Finals is going to involve the Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics. But let's just take a quick recap of everything that was going on in the regular or in the playoffs for this series. So to look at the Dallas Mavericks journey, in the first round, they beat the Los Angeles Clippers 4-2, got them out of there. And this is a stacked Clippers team. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. Damn near any superstar you can think of over the age of 27. That's how they get down, but they still lost. Dallas Mavericks advanced. They played the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is the number 1 seed. They beat the number 1 seed in 6 games, 4-2. Then they advanced to the Timberwolves, just got those boys out of there. And now they're in the NBA Finals in the Western Conference. They won the West. And then when you look at the Eastern Conference, of course, that means you got the Boston Celtics, a team that has not been there in a long time. They get a lot of jokes. People say they haven't won a championship since color TV outside of that 2011 championship or 2009 championship, correction. But anyway, their journey has been a little sweet. They played the Miami Heat in the first round. They won that series in 5 games. No Jimmy Butler. They advanced to play the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland Cavaliers didn't give much of a matchup either. No Donovan Mitchell, no Jared Allen. Celtics won that with no problem. They won that in 5 games, beat the Cleveland Cavaliers 4-1, and then they went on to play the Indiana Pacers, which also has some more injuries. And Tyrese Halliburton, again, no problem for them. They ended up beating the Indiana Pacers 4-0, and the Pacers just really lost a lot of those games more than the Celtics won them. There was 1 or 2 games where the Celtics played great basketball, but in the closing moments, we just seen the Pacers really blow the game and give it away. So a lot of people are upset because they're like, man, this journey that the Celtics have does not compare to anybody who's been to the finals. This is the weakest journey that I've seen ever. These are the complaints that I'm hearing over and over again. And while some of this may be true about the journey being a lot more easy than these other final appearances from the teams in the previous years, that's true. You can't deny that. Even if you're a Celtics fan, you got to acknowledge where people are coming from here. But I'm going to acknowledge the opposite side of this. For you, if you're out there saying this doesn't count or this doesn't matter for the Celtics, that's a joke, man. You can't put them in a lose-lose situation like this, because if the Celtics, they went to the finals, they beat all of these teams, they go to the finals, they lose, you're looking at them like, oh, they had an easy journey and they still lost in the finals. If they didn't go to the finals, you would have been looking at them like, wow, they lost to a team that was unhealthy. So they're in a lose-lose situation, and at the end of the day, bro, it's not their fault that other teams was hurt. We already knew coming into the postseason that a big key factor in going far in the postseason is health. You can't be mad at the Celtics because they're the only a healthy team left. It ain't their fault. They got preparation, or they prepared for this. They got their legs ready. They got, their bodies ready to go all the way into June. You can't be mad at them. So, I understand where you're coming from of, hey, it's still an easy journey. It doesn't matter. It's invalid. It's going to have an asterisk next to it. Yeah, I get that. But also, if this was your favorite team, would you really, really be saying that same stuff? Because we already know Bostonians, they're not going to be saying this has an asterisk to it. If they win this finals, they're going to be celebrating like it's 1999. They about to have a party every damn night if the Boston Celtics win this championship. This organization has been starving for another championship since colored TV after that 2009 finals. But, Celtics, they're going to enjoy this. So why can't you just enjoy good basketball? My reasoning for not wanting the Celtics to win isn't because it's the Celtics or because they had an easy journey. It's more so because they don't play good basketball like they did in the regular season. I haven't seen them with that same type of flow that I've seen in the regular season. All of these wins that they've been getting have been struggle type of wins. Teams have been blowing the game in late game situations. So when I see them go against a team who's been on a roll and been playing great basketball, like the Dallas Mavericks, I'm like, I'm down. I want the Dallas Mavericks to win. I want the team that's been playing better basketball to win the NBA Finals. And at the end of the day, I think that will happen because both of these teams, they close out games fairly well in crunch time. We've seen that from them. Mavericks, they've obviously got two of the best closers in the NBA right now with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, but still going to have to take work to close it out against an elite team like the Celtics, because the Celtics, even though they haven't been rolling, like I said, they can still close out games because they got a lot of talent on that team. So you can't discredit them. You can't count them out. They got playoff experience just as well as the Dallas Mavericks got playoff experience. But either way, man, I don't think this finals has an asterisk next to it. Both of these teams had to stay healthy to get to this journey, and I'm sure it's probably some knick-knack injuries that they're all going through because they've been playing basketball for so long, all the way since, October? So I'm sure they going through some injuries, but no, this doesn't invalidate anybody's finals appearances. I don't care who the Celtics had to play. They could have played UCLA for all I care, but if they were in the playoffs and they got matched up against the Boston Celtics, that's just one of the advantages of being the number one seed at the end of the day. You can't be mad at the Celtics because they're the number one seed and they had an easy journey. Because the Knicks ain't had that same thing. It was number 2. Pacers ain't had that. They was number 6. 76ers barely got in. They didn't have that. Bucks, they didn't have that, number 3. They lost. Even though everybody was injured, but still. That's just the things that happen in the postseason. You got to be ready for it, man. Hey, low management happened for a reason. Look, man, all right, that's all I got for y'all, man. I appreciate you. You've been kicking it with me. This is just really a post-game reaction, man, after the Dallas Mavericks game. They just won, so some initial thoughts of the game and the playoffs and stuff. So I'm still riding with the Dallas Mavericks in 6 or 7 games, though. I'm going to just be kind and say 7 games. I would love to see a 7-game series between these two teams because they both are very, very elite. And I think we're really seeing the best team from each conference. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with seeing the best team from each conference, if they've won fair and square, which they all did. Because this has been great. This has been great so far. Look, man, I'm gonna leave y'all with this positive note here. This positive note, I got the quote actually. This is a quote. I always try to make these just go along with anything that's been happening with me and something that I can heavily resonate with. But the quote I have is, "I'm not where I want to be, but I'm grateful that I'm not where I used to be." So I'm not where I want to be, but I'm grateful that I'm not where I used to be. Do what you will with that information. We all gonna get to where we trying to go, but be happy that there's progress. Be happy that you've evolved to the point of where you were last year or the year before that or last month, last week. Be happy that you're continuously evolving, and as long as you give that effort, you will continue to evolve and you will continue to get better. I gotta remind myself of that sometimes, so I try to just bring these genuine thoughts on here and just share them with you guys. But other than that, man, look, I appreciate you for tuning in. Send this to a cousin, a brother, an aunt, an uncle, a niece, a nephew, a coworker, a friend, a spouse, a partner, your side piece, anybody you know who will enjoy this episode. Shoot it their way. I promise you they will not mind. And until then, I will be back later on next week. And so on and so on and so on.